Hello, my name is John Burris, and thank you for joining me today for this short video called Orthotics Fix the Shoe but Damage the Foot. Yeah, that's right, you heard it correctly. So in this video, I'll be sharing you with orthotics and what they actually do and what they don't do, and how there's a lot of myth and misperception about the feet and orthotics and curing and changing the feet. Orthotics are inserts that are placed inside a shoe, and for many people, they have painful feet, and we'll talk about why that is and how to correct it. So they have painful feet, so they insert an orthotic inside their shoe, and all of a sudden their pain is gone, and they think, oh, the problem's gone. Well, it's much like, for example, if you're driving down the highway and you have all this blue smoke pouring out the back tailpipe, and you go, oh, that's not good, it's probably something really bad happening. Let me just put a banana in my tailpipe, and all of a sudden the blue smoke goes away. But did you fix the problem? 5 miles down the road, your engine explodes because you didn't fix the problem. You compensated and you covered up the problem. Well, that's what orthotics do. Orthotics don't ever cure anything. They're a compensation model that it takes away the pain, and yes, nobody likes pain, but it doesn't cure anything, and it actually makes things worse over time. And so the problem is, we've been taught by many medical authorities and foot doctors and a wide range of media stories and advertisements, and buy this orthotic and your problems are solved. They're lying to you because they're practicing what's called old anatomy that's hundreds of years old, based on old thinking and old ideas. And that's not how the foot works at all. So stop compensating for your foot problems, start curing them. This is a many-part series. There's a series also I have on the shins. There's a 3-part series I have on YouTube on the feet, Flat Feet for Health. If you'd like to learn more about how the lower leg actually works, follow me there and you can see all kinds of new ideas from new anatomy going on. So we're going to talk about orthotics today, why they're not a good idea if you want to cure your feet. If you just want the pain go away, fine. But in the long run, you're going to be causing more problems down the road as those compensations don't go away, and it's just like the banana in your tailpipe, your engine's going to explode. Whatever your feet problems are causing will get worse because you haven't cured the problem. So an orthotic is a spongy, semi-hard, semi-soft material that it could be a custom orthotic where you actually measured for your exact feet, or it could be something you buy over the counter for anybody. And it's designed to displace a dysfunctional foot, to support a dysfunction, to support a foot that's imbalanced and dysfunctional. And it doesn't cure it at all. It's going to support that dysfunction. So when we talk about orthotics, we're talking about a brace that basically supports a dysfunction. It doesn't cure it at all. So the origin of the story is most people have painful feet. Well, why is that? Well, in my opinion, it starts out when we're young. And when we were very young, we were barefoot. And then we were put in shoes, and shoes were horrible for us because the shoes designed in today's culture have a false perception of the foot. The foot's not a solid structure. It's designed like a spring that's supposed to bend and flex. And we put our young people into shoes that don't move. The toe boxers are tight. You have arches, you have heels, and it destroys the flexibility of the foot. Then you add to it these designer shoes. Women's designer shoe companies destroy the women's feet with this heel lift. It's horrible for the body. Then you have these athletic shoe companies that say, oh, you need more arch support. Destroys the foot even more. So the more these media outlets and these basically money-making companies tell us the wrong ideas, the more our feet are destroyed. So after time, your feet become painful. They stop bending and flexing. And then it hurts to walk. And you go, oh, it hurts to walk. It must be the shoe. The shoe must be the problem. So we buy these orthotics and put them inside the shoe because the media and the medical doctors say that's what we're supposed to do. And then, wow, our problem's gone because the pain is gone. Not so fast. You just stuck a banana in your tailpipe. So yes, there are occasionally times when children are born with painful feet. The ligaments, the muscles, the tendons are tight and distorted. Some kids even have to wear braces as they're younger because they have distorted feet. That does happen, but that's rare. In my experience, most of our feet issues come from the wearing of the shoes and the type of shoes we're put into. If we had the correct shoes, it would be a big difference. But the shoe manufacturers have a very distorted view of the foot, and all the marketing goes with them will destroy your foot over time, causing many people to seek out orthotics just to take the pain away. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to show you first a model. This is a dysfunctional model. It's distorted. It's not balanced at all. It's crooked. This will mimic the foot over time. So we have a crooked model, and instead of correcting the model, which would be the foot, let's compensate for it. So we have this structure here. It's a hardware tool. And let's go put this in here and create this support that supports all these little dysfunctions here. So now I take it away. I just created an orthotic because it supports the dysfunction rather than correcting the dysfunction. We created a compensation to support it. Well, the same thing happens with the foot. You have a tight arched foot. Let me create a dysfunction here. So let's create a model here where we can go in there and put this compensation in there to correct and balance off your dysfunction. We just created a custom orthotic. Now you put this in your shoe and your pain is gone and you're happy, but you haven't corrected the problem because all you've done is created a compensation. It all comes back down to who's teaching us anatomy. Anatomy taught today is taught by very old thinking people. Old anatomy that's designed to keep the foot locked up. So it's not supposed to be that way. New anatomy is this. Your foot is supposed to be flexible. It's supposed to move. When we're younger, it moves. Why does it harden as we get older? Your foot is designed to bend and flex. So this is not supposed to happen. This is from a shoe that locks your foot in place and it solidifies it and it petrifies it. It creates plantar fasciitis, hard tissue, hard ligaments, tendons, fascia, and it petrifies it. The thing about the shoe, we have this false perception that an arch is basically a good thing and a flat feet's a bad thing. Wrong thinking. That's old thinking. What's supposed to happen is when you stand up, your foot is supposed to flatten out because your foot is a spring designed to flatten out. And because we train our foot to be hard and stiff through shoes, it won't flatten anymore because we've trained this flexibility out of it and turned it into petrified tissue. So your foot designed to flatten like a spring, we've turned that into petrified tissue. Now we need a support to take the pain away. Is that backwards thinking or what? But that's what we do. The media involved in that, podiatrists, medical doctors, athletes, trainers, they're all involved in this conspiracy to mistreat the foot. Here's a picture of how an orthotic works. It supports the space of dysfunction. Instead of fixing the foot, we decide to fix the shoe, and the foot remains imbalanced and dysfunctional and causes all kinds of other problems. This is actually a dysfunctional model, and we're taught that that's normal. Centuries ago, the Chinese had a very strange tradition of binding the feet of young girls for years so the feet became deformed. And it was mostly men trying to control women. But look what happened. We do the same thing with our modern day shoes, then we have to create compensations like orthotics to try to take the pain away that we created from the shoes and from the procedures we're doing. So we're doing it all backwards. We're doing the same thing the ancient Chinese did. Why are we destroying our feet? And many people over time will develop plantar fasciitis, which is the tightening of the fascia in the bottom of the feet. And we're basically creating our own painful situation. And then we put an orthotics in there saying, oh, we'll compensate for that. And we'll take away the pain, but your problem never goes away. And just for further reference, the foot's full of life. These are the reflexology points in the foot. When you damage and create a dysfunctional foot, you create all kinds of other imbalances in the rest of your body. For example, there's liver points and kidney points and all kinds of intestinal points here. When those points are tight and hard and rigid, you're affecting the organ they correspond to. So damaged feet also damage the rest of your body. We're doing that on purpose. So a lot of these ideas come from old anatomy, this thinking that's hundreds of years old that we haven't gotten out of yet. We're still doing it. We're still destroying our feet. So here's the anatomy model. The current model teaches us that the foot is a column that needs to be strengthened. You've heard the phrase, strengthen your arches, strengthen your muscles. It's wrong. The foot is not a column that doesn't need to be strengthened. It should be taught to be flexible. So for example, the foot is really what's called a tensegrity model. It's a spring. It needs to spring back and forth to life. And it's not a column. When you hear somebody says strengthen your arches, that's a 400-year-old lie. We should be teaching you how to make your foot flexible and not strong. So every time I hear a physical therapist, a trainer, a medical doctor tell me to strengthen my arches, I want to scream. That's like believing leeches are good for healing your health. We want to make our foot flexible like a spring, not strengthen our arches. We want it to flex and bend. So the model is wrong. The medical institutions are wrong. They're taking you in the wrong direction and causing much of your pain for you. What most people don't realize, what happens below the knee affects the rest of the body. And it blocks effects. So this is a model of the shin, for example. The foot's here. The shin muscles are here. So what happens is this, all these different shin muscles here, the side of your lower leg, they come down and they create much of the foot muscles, the arching. So if you have an arch in the bottom of your foot, it's a good chance it's coming from up here in your shins, the calf muscles and whatnot. There's several of them. I won't even give you the names. And they become glued together and fused together like beef jerky, like petrified tissues. Then you have a locked in arch here because the tissues are being locked in from the muscle spasms going on up here because of what you've done in your life. Running, training, poor shoes. You're creating dysfunction in your shins, which then reflect in dysfunction in your feet. Then you go buy an orthotic arch support and go, wow, I fixed my problem. Your problem isn't fixed, it's just got worse. Here's a picture of the shins, the lower leg muscles, and the calves. Whatever happens in the shins is mostly responsible for what happens in the bottom of your feet. So many times your painful feet is being created by tight, dysfunctional, glued together shin muscles because whatever you're doing in your life has created that. So we can't just blame the feet. We've got to look a little higher up to what the shin muscles are doing as well. And here's the model of what happens to the rest of the body. If you have a painful, dysfunctional, imbalanced foot, in other words, if you cannot get all four corners of your foot flat to the floor, you've got a dysfunction. You're going to walk on the outside of your foot, walk on the heel, you're going to roll your foot out. Whatever dysfunction you have will create a lower leg rotation outward. So from the knee to the ankle, it rotates outward. Once it crosses the knee, it compensates the other direction and pulls inward. You're going to have a tight groin muscles, tight hamstring issue. Then when it gets to the next joint, it pulls the other direction outward again. So you're going to have a tight hip and eventually ends up in your back. You're going to have a groin issue or sciatica or back problems, all starting from your feet. And here's the crazy part. What I hear so much from medical doctors and from podiatrists and all the media says, oh, you can correct your back problems by putting orthotics in. Not true. You just made things worse because those problems didn't go away. Your dysfunction is still there. You just locked it in place. And here's the holistic model of the body here. So if you have a foot issue that's imbalanced and dysfunctional, and for whatever reason, you've got ankle sprains, you've got poor shoes you've been wearing, an orthotic never corrects that. So what's going on is you've got a rotation here, and that rotation pulls in, and now you might have a knee issue. And then it pulls into your hip here, and your hip starts to twist and turn. And then it pulls into your back here, and it twists and turns, and it's pulling here. Now if you put an orthotic here, down here, you never corrected any of that. That's still in place. It's locked in place. It's still there. So for instance, when I was in high school, I started having knee problems. The doctors told me strengthen my legs with weightlifting and cycling and hiking and all kinds of strength building. And guess what? It made things worse over time because it never solved my dysfunction. What it did was create 30 years of sciatica and back pain because the compensation never corrected anything. So by putting an orthotic down here, you don't correct these spirals going on up the body. These don't change if you put an orthotic down here. You're locking them in place. You're creating more dysfunction. So for example, here's a picture of the knee. And the knee is supposed to have a straight pull to it. When your lower leg is dysfunctional, you create twists and turns and rotations. Now your knee doesn't line up correctly. It's spiraled, it's twisted, it doesn't correct. Oh, then the doctor says, oh, you've got bone on bone. Oh, well, they don't look at your feet, do they? They don't look at that orthotic you're wearing and saying, well, maybe it's the orthotic that caused the problem. Maybe it's your dysfunctional lower leg. They only look at the knee. So if you got bone on bone of your knee, you probably have a foot issue, and you're probably compensating from the shoe you wear and the orthotics in the shoe itself. So I'll give you an example here. These shoes I bought years ago. They're very expensive, very well media advertised. They're horrible. I would feel horrible every time I wear them. They have a tight toe box. Well, they have springs in here. They've got great support. They've got great arch support, I'm told. My foot would die in these shoes. They don't move, they don't bend, they don't flex, but they're heavily marketed as supportive arch supports. These are horrible for my feet. They destroyed my feet. So what I did, I bought shoes that bend and flexed. Let my foot bend and flex. And these are called Xero, X-E-R-O. There's all kinds of shoes like this. They help my foot bend and flex because the shoes that the media was telling me to buy destroyed my feet because they created hard, tight, rigid feet. Where my foot wanted to flex, those blue shoes wouldn't let them happen. So orthotics were to destroy the foot. Arch supports made my foot inflexible and completely imbalanced. So that's the foot story. Once again, if you want to learn more, I've got several videos on flat feet for health. I have a video on the shins, the forgotten shins. So what's the solution here? If you just want to take the pain away, go get an orthotic because it will do that. It'll compensate for dysfunction. It's a compensation model, but it's not a cure model. If you want to cure your foot and cure your body of all those compensations, you're going to have to correct the foot and not the shoe. So what I did over time was first I would go to my massage therapist and go to foot massage. I would get my feet massaged out and all the achy places and identify some of the hard places where I had patterns that needed to be broken down. I would go to a fascia body worker and have the fascia stretch, the plantar fascia stretch, the fascia around the ankle stretch, the shin muscle fascia, the fascia that glues all the shin muscles together. I had that stretched out, separated. I would use essential oils that start to perk up the energy flow. I did a lot of yoga poses, and I found yoga poses that stretched my shins, ankles, and feet. I did functional expansive movement like Feldenkrais that rebuilt my foot. So it's certainly possible. So my opinion is you can't just correct the shoe. In fact, the shoes are mostly the problem. It's also our workouts, the runners, the trainers, the people who are pounding every day. You know, people don't realize in the fitness world, the shins became the shock absorbers of the body, and yet nobody pays any attention to them. Imagine eating food and never brushing your teeth, and what would happen to your teeth? Well, we run, we jump, we bounce, we train, and almost nobody takes care of their shins, and they're the shock absorbers of the body, and they create bad feet. And then we compensate by putting orthotics in them. So there are solutions if you're willing to take the journey with me. Fix the feet, don't fix the shoe. Stop believing in 400-year-old false anatomy. It's called old anatomy, and become updated on how the foot actually works. Thank you for joining me here today. I hope I've given you some insights about how to correct your foot and your body. It certainly worked for me. And I hope it works for you. If you'd like to join the leading edge community here, please subscribe to my channel. I also have a website, johnboros.com, with lots of leading edge articles and ideas. There's a great book I have called Return to Nature, the 5 Pillars of Healing. You can buy it at my website, barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. So thank you for being part of the leading edge community of people looking for new and exciting ideas. Thank you for watching.